Morning, everyone. Welcome back. Welcome into my lounge. Get yourselves a cup of tea or a mug of coffee and let's talk. Now, although it may sound like it initially, I am not going to get political in this video. So do not despair. Just hang in there for me for a minute or two so I can get to my point. Firstly, I cannot tell you how many times people have told me to concern myself with my own country's problems instead of that of Britain and the United States. And I have explained myself on numerous occasions and am not going to do it again. But I am going to say to you what I said to a friend of mine a couple of times already. I am no fortune teller and cannot predict the future because I had dreams or visions or any such thing. What I can do, however, is to take lessons we have already learned here on the southern tip of Africa and apply it to what is happening in other countries, among which the United Kingdom and the United States. Herman Mashaba made unsubstantiated claims that as of 2024, South Africa has 15 million illegal immigrants in the country. Now, of course, everyone, myself included, call this an unsubstantiated number because no one knows how many illegal immigrants there are. A country like ours, with our national electricity supplier unable to provide in the needs of its own population, a country with little growth and joblessness, this constant flow across our borders are not sustainable. South Africa is approximately 1,219,090 square kilometers, while the United States is 9,833,517 square kilometers, making South Africa 8 times smaller than the United States. But South Africa is 5 times as big as the United Kingdom. So immediately, the scale of the problem in different countries become very obvious, don't they? Well, this morning I was catching up on the news while trying to soothe my aching back in a warm bath when I happened to listen to a debate between John Kennedy and the Department of Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas. And with all due respect, I don't really know Secretary Mayorkas. He may be the nicest guy on the planet. But one thing was clear to me listening to this video, and that is that Mayorkas and then likely his subordinates have lost the plot. They are barely treading water and have to come up with word salad, nonsensical speeches to cover for their mistakes. Well, let us call it that, because I'm not sure whether mistakes were made or whether things were manipulated in a certain direction on purpose. And I'm not going to venture any guesses either. All I'm saying is that we saw the same purposeful mistakes made right here in South Africa, and we saw how it turned out. The increased crime rate, declining quality of services, increasing joblessness or unemployment because the illegals were prepared to work for less and did not require pension and unemployment contributions from their employer, etc., etc. But let's step back a while and let's leave the poor, the drug smuggler, the human trafficker, and everyone else with nefarious intentions coming across our borders. Let's leave them aside just for a short while. Let us talk about the other type, the political, the rich, the criminal with dough who's being given a safe haven in a country where people will take you at face value and judge you by the vehicle you drive and the perfume you wear. Yes, here in South Africa we've seen that. people being given a safe haven here and living their lives out here. And only once they pass away, their real identities or backgrounds are exposed. And you know what? Sometimes the neighbors even knew, but just did not care. None of my business, they say. Typically South African. I always said, if Jeffrey Epstein is still alive, he's likely living in a place like Langebaan in Cape Town. Anyway, I'm really digressing. The point is that just like there are different kinds of immigrants on diplomatic visas, student visas, spousal visas, there are also different kinds of illegal immigrants. And here is where I tell you what I think Harry did. I have not seen or heard any privileged information on his visa application yet, and nor do I know when the judge will make his decision. But I've been told a story which I am going to be telling you now. It's a story I cannot verify, but I'm going to tell you anyway because listening to John Kennedy and Secretary Mayorkas this morning, I think it is very plausible that this may indeed happen. But before I tell you what I'm talking about, Harry and Meghan are leaking that they are planning a possible escape route in the event that Donald Trump is voted back in as President of the United States. Now, we know Meghan is not a fan of Uncle Donald, and we know the feeling is mutual. Remember, Donald Trump is or was a huge fan of the Queen. I can't exactly remember what he said, but he said something like the Queen reminded him of his mother or grandmother or something like that. I'm sure if he could, Trump would have preserved the Queen forever. Trump also said that Harry and Meghan will not have it as easy as they do now if he becomes president. And he also said that he will deport Harry if it comes out that he lied on his application. Well, I think Harry came into the United States on Tyler Perry's private plane without the proper documentation, or maybe without even any documentation except for his British passport. Now, why do I think that? Well, because a visa takes time. It takes 6 to 8 weeks if you go on any foreign website and you want to know how long it's going to take. It'll tell you 6 to 8 weeks. Or if you're here in South Africa, it could even take up to 3 months here on our side of the globe. And remember, Harry said they fled. They were fleeing out of Canada, which tells you that it was a quick and short decision. Also, if you look at the timeline when Harry landed in Canada and when they flew to the United States, one can ask yourself, was there enough time for him to apply for whatever visa he's on? Okay, so likely once they were safely ensconced at Tyler Perry's mansion, where, by his own admission, he rolled the weed and had a good old smoke at night, they likely called Meghan's niece, the immigration lawyer, and Samantha's daughter and said, okay, do you come over and come do the paperwork for us? And when it got to the question about drug use, she likely said they should rather just hush and say no. It would be easier and faster, and none of them ever thinking that Harry will go blab about his drug use, or alternatively, that anyone would dare or bother to question a prince from Great Britain's application. So yes, allegedly, Meghan is telling her mates that they are planning an escape route and will leave if Donald becomes president again. As far as I know, and from what I hear, even her so-called friends are smiling and only indulging old Meghan, because most think that the judge will release the visa application, at least to the Heritage Foundation, maybe with the provision that they do not release it to the public. And I have a feeling that Harry's arrival in the United States will indeed predate his application. And I predict that he did indeed lie on his application. And I predict that the Heritage Foundation will then go back to court to have Harry deported back to the United Kingdom. And I'm predicting this not because that was my original instinct to do, but because of what is being talked about currently in Congress and the Senate. What better way to show seriousness and intent than to deport such a prominent figure such as Harry? What a better way to show fairness, although we all know it will never be. But, it's okay to pretend. And then, just before I ended this video, my phone rang. And as I picked it up, I noticed that Ready for Tea on Instagram tagged me in a post. And although it's a little long, I am going to read it to you. Now, the original post was by OMG916, and I think it was on Twitter. I'm not sure. Anyway, it reads, I have some insider news to share about Harry. Those who have followed me since the beginning know that I am big into politics. I spend a great deal of my spare time at political fundraising. I try my best not to share that side of my life and my politics on this channel. Anyway, I got some information from a very reliable source who is well known in Washington about Harry's visa. Since Harry's paperwork was released to a judge, information has leaked out, and it is the talk in the political circles. Get ready, America, because Harry is here on an A1 visa, which means he is considered head of state. He's given all the privileges given to a dignitary. We, as the American taxpayers, are paying for those privileges, which are also passed on to Rachel and the two invisible kids. This is why the Biden administration fought so hard to keep Harry's file sealed. The Biden administration has covered up the expenses towards Harry's privileges for being declared as head of state. I asked if King Charles was aware. I was told that they could not confirm, but that they would assume that he and the British government, more likely than not, are aware of it. Now add to all of this Harry's poor victimhood narrative, the sad little boykie, so hard done by his daddy, as fully displayed on the front pages of the Mail Online and others today. According to this narrative, Harry chose the day him and Meghan moved their last stuff out of Frogmore, June 29th last year, 2023. Yes, this is the day the Duke said he began living in America, as he has proven through filings published by Companies House for Prince Harry Charles Albert David, Duke of Sussex, and in which they record that his new country or state in which he is usually residing is the United States of America, whereas it was previously on similar forms stated to be the United Kingdom. It is now being spread that Harry was deeply wounded by his father's orders for them to leave Frogmore, and that he was making a point by choosing that date to change his country of residency. Now can someone please go tell Harry that it takes a little more than a change of address to make you a resident or a citizen. I would not be surprised if he is actually so stupid and so entitled that he thinks he can just say it and then it is so. Anyway, let's quickly get back to that piece I read you. I really, honestly, and truly hope that it is true. I do hope he is on an A1 visa as head of state. And if true, that the reason why the Biden administration fought so hard to conceal his application and status is indeed because they had covered up the expenses towards Harry's privileges. Well, if that is the case, then it will do Biden and the Democratic Party's election campaign a huge, huge damage. So let's say, if true, they may be thoroughly markled. Boy, oh boy. And if Charles and the British government was aware of it, which I cannot see how they could not be, then if true, it reflects very, very badly on the honesty of the king and the British government. So yes, I can see that there are two warring sides, one which wants it all hidden and made to go away, and the other side who wants it all out in the open so that the BS can move on and be legally and truthfully sorted out, so that there will be no future precedent which could be used as a loophole by others. So, my dears, I think we'll see, but I think the judge will consider his own future career under a different precedent as well. And I think the judge will be very cautious and that he would prefer to err on the side of caution. So, guys, there's that. Friends and foes, please do me a favor. Go click that like button if you liked it. Subscribe if you haven't yet. It will be truly, truly and honestly much appreciated. Anyway, guys, so that's it from me for now. I'll be back very soon, but until then, please take good care of yourselves and each other. Bye.